Hello everybody, what is going on out there in the YouTube fragrance world? My name is Elliot. I want to welcome you back to another episode of The Fragrance Well. Today's topic is blind buys once again, but this time blind buys that are not so safe. In fact, most people would probably say a lot of these are not safe at all. I got some ones that are pretty obvious here. They're talked about a lot as not being safe blind buys, and I also have one that I think most people consider a safe blind buy, but I myself do not, so it's more so just my opinion. So we're going to talk about these right now, not safe blind buys. Alright guys, like I said, not safe blind buys. Let's get right into it. The first one is going to be coming from the house of Lalique. You've probably heard about this one. Encre Noire. This is just the original Encre Noire. That is a dark bottle and it is an accurate representation of what this fragrance is. It is very dark, vetiver heavy, earthy, almost muddy fragrance. This one features cypress, bourbon vetiver, Haitian vetiver, cashmere wood, and musk. If you are a fan of vetiver, like I am, you'll like this one. Let me also just mention that most of the fragrances on this list, I actually am a fan of, even though I do consider them not to be safe blind buys. But this one in particular is very heavy, very earthy, woody, almost muddy, like almost damp vetiver, almost like damp grass, which is like, most people are probably like, why would anybody want to smell like that? Well, you know, it's a style of fragrance and this one is done very well and you can get it for very cheap, which is why it is often mentioned as a fragrance to check out from discounters because it is such a great quality fragrance that you can get for such a low price. But it is anything but a safe blind buy, especially this one. Matter of fact, in my opinion, the original Encre Noire is the toughest one to pull off in terms of if you're wearing a fragrance that is definitely a little more out there and not something everybody would necessarily warm up to. And it is the furthest thing from a safe blind buy, but I absolutely love it. But that being said, yeah, definitely kind of do your homework with maybe some easier to wear vetiver scents, something like a gray vetiver. If you can sample that, check that out first, Terre d'Hermès, see if you kind of like those first, then maybe dive into this, or try the Encre Noire Sport. It kind of turns that deep, muddy earthiness down a little bit, the darkness down, and brightens it up with some citrus and makes it a little bit easier to wear, a little bit of a fresher take on a very heavy vetiver scent. Encre Noire from Lalique, anything but a safe blind buy. Okay, next up, let's talk about one that I think is overall a lot more popular than Encre Noire, but however, because it has such a challenging opening, a very strong opening, that is why it is often considered to not be a safe blind buy and you might want to get a sample first. Coming from the house of Mancera, Red Tobacco. Red Tobacco from the house of Mancera, a very popular fragrance from this house. I absolutely love this fragrance, but like I said, this one is all about the opening being very strong, and that is why it is often considered not to be a safe blind buy. Some of the featured notes in this one are cinnamon, frankincense, oud, saffron, nutmeg, jasmine, patchouli, tobacco, vanilla, amber, and vetiver. In my opinion, the notes that come off very strong in the opening of this that might be a turnoff for some people are the saffron and the oud in particular. In my experience, saffron can often be kind of overwhelming, and if it's in the opening of a fragrance, it just comes off, it can come off very, very strong if it's heavily used, and it is in this fragrance along with some other things. The thing about this one is once you get past the opening, it is an awesome fragrance. It's very people pleasing after that opening kind of dries down, but like I said, it's the opening with this, it's very, very strong, very in your face, and it just turns a lot of people off. Me personally, I loved it at first sniff. My wife actually loved it at first sniff. I was kind of surprised by that. But if you can get past the opening, this is a very good fragrance, but definitely sample it first because that opening is strong. And let's just be honest, a lot of people can't see past the opening of a fragrance. If they don't like it from Jump Street, then they're probably not going to give it a second try after that. That being said, great fragrance, but not a safe blind buy. Red Tobacco from Mancera. Next one on the list is definitely one that is either love it or hate it. Very divisive fragrance, but also a very, at least in my opinion, a very high quality and awesome release from a designer house, particularly one that doesn't typically release male fragrances. Coming from the house of Moschino, Toy Boy. Hate the bottle. This bottle is tacky, but I absolutely love the juice on the inside of it. This one is very, very spicy and very, very floral. automatically being a very floral fragrance, you know, a lot of guys are just not gonna jive with that. So, you know, you have to be someone who's into florals to like this fragrance, but it's also so spicy in the opening. Combined with those florals, I think that's what really turns a lot of people off to this. This one features notes like pink pepper, pear, nutmeg, clove, elemi, rose, cashmerean, magnolia, and Haitian vetiver. Like I said, very spice forward. A lot of pepper in this in the opening, even off the atomizer. It's very, very peppery. And like I said, it's heavy on florals. It is a rose fragrance. But even if you don't really like this type of scent, if you're being honest, I think most people have to admit it is a very well done scent, even if it's a style that you just wouldn't want to wear. It is more of a unisex, even though it's marketed towards men because the florals are so heavy. But I think it is a great quality fragrance. But as soon as I smelled it, I immediately could understand why this would not be for everybody and why it is divisive. So it is anything but a safe blind buy. But naturally, you can get it for a very good price, and it is often talked about a lot, so that's why people tend to just blind buy it, because it's one that's talked about as being a very good, very interesting quality fragrance, but it is just not for everybody. Check it out if you haven't. It's Moschino Toy Boy. Try to get a sample of it. It is available at some stores. I saw it at a Dillard's. That's where I actually smelled it first, so this wasn't a blind buy for me. But you can find it in stores sometimes if you're lucky and they happen to have that there. But yeah, definitely get a sample of this one first if you're not able to check it out at one of your local fragrance retailers. Moschino Toy Boy, farthest thing from a safe blind buy. Okay, so for this next one, this is one that is, as far as I can tell, is not talked about in the community at large at all. So it's one that I kind of discovered on my own and I really liked it. That being said, it is not a safe blind buy, so I'm gonna throw it in this video. This is from Wilhelm Perfumery. This is London Funk. London Funk from Wilhelm Perfumery. This one actually came out in tandem with, I think it's called To My Father or By My Father or something like that. That fragrance is amazing. Also wouldn't consider that really a safe blind buy. It's a very interesting, a lot of depth in that fragrance, but this one in particular is basically just a green fragrance. It is a green lover's dream. If you like green fragrances, you might like this one, but it is very, very woody, very green, and that is it, nothing else. Some of the notes in this are bergamot, basil, juniper, driftwood, black currant, cedarwood, mate, vetiver, sandalwood, and ambergris. So as you heard, there was a lot of green notes, a lot of aromatic notes, and a lot of woody notes, and that's literally what the fragrance is. It is like walking through a piney forest basically, but there's nothing to kind of offset it. That's all it is. It's just wood and green. That's it. So that being said, if you're not a fan of green scents, you're not gonna like this. So it is not a safe blind buy at all. I think it is pretty much a hate it or love it fragrance. Oh, again, I'm keep harping on it, but you gotta like green scents to like this one if you wanna check this out. So you wanna check this one out, definitely get a sample of it, but it's not a safe blind buy. And honestly, when you talk about niche houses, particularly one like Wilhelm, most of their stuff is not going to be safe blind buys. All right, let's talk about one that is very well known in the community and is heavily talked about, but is not a safe blind buy. This is coming from the house of Dior. It's Sauvage Elixir. That's right, a Sauvage fragrance is not a safe blind buy. Who knew it? Well, Elixir, this is an awesome fragrance released from Dior. An awesome take on the Sauvage DNA, but it is very warm spice and lavender forward, which is completely different from what you get from the original Sauvage formulations. You know, that's more about ambroxan and spices and vanilla. This is not that, and it's a very kind of 80s style fragrance, which is why it is not a safe blind buy. Sauvage Elixir features nutmeg, cardamom, cinnamon, grapefruit, lavender, licorice, ambroxan, patchouli, woods, and vetiver. It is a beast mode scent. It is a forever scent. You don't need a lot of sprays for this to work, but like I said, it's very warm spice forward and very lavender forward, kind of an 80s style fragrance, almost a barbershop style fragrance, and that's why it's just not for everyone. It's often been heralded as, if you don't like the original Sauvages, you'll like this one, and if you love the original Sauvages, you'll probably hate this one. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I can't speak on that. I do like the original Sauvages. I mean, I'm not crazy about them, but I do like them, and I especially love this. I do think this is a superior formulation on the Sauvage DNA. That being said, it's anything but a safe blind buy, and it's also very expensive, so another reason to definitely check this one out first before you spend the kind of money you're gonna spend on something like this. Sauvage Elixir, great fragrance, A little bit easier to pull off than some of these on this list, but still not a safe blind buy in my opinion. Okay, so the next one is going to be coming from the house of Bentley, and I talked about this one in my previous blind buy video as being a great blind buy for me, but anything but a safe blind buy, and if you know anything about it, you would agree. This is Bentley Men Intense. Try to get that in focus there so you can see it. Bentley Men Intense. Great fragrance in my opinion. You know, I bought this pretty early on and I happened to like it, even though I didn't fully understand it. It was classified as like a woody fragrance. I didn't really get the woods at first. I got the leather nature of it at first, but as time went along, I started to pick out the wood, so I actually started to like it even more. Yeah, great fragrance in my opinion, but this is anything but a safe blind buy. A lot of people like to say it smells like their grandmother. Bentley Men Intense features some notes as black pepper, frankincense, leather, clary sage, labdanum, patchouli, and sandalwood. So as I mentioned before, it's all about the woods and a little bit of leatheriness and some spice on the top with this one. Very mature, very classy fragrance. I would suggest considering where you would wear this one. That being said, if you really, really like the DNA, which I do, you know, you can wear it in other occasions as well. It doesn't have to be a formal one. But with this, it's hard to get samples of it unless you're at a store that just happens to have one sitting out. I personally haven't seen it yet, but it is a cheap buy. So if you want to just kind of take a risk, try it out, and if you don't like it, I would say it's pretty easy to sell this one because it is talked about so much. Somebody else will be willing to take it off your hands, whether they already like it or just want to try it for themselves. So, you know, it's not a safe blind buy, but I do think it is worth checking out because the price of it is so low that it's worth kind of taking that risk. And if you do like it, then you got a great deal. If you don't, you can get rid of it. Bentley Men Intense, not a safe blind buy. Alright, so the next one on the list is going to be coming from the house of Sauvage, definitely one of their most popular fragrances. This is Interlude Man, the original Interlude Man, also dubbed the Blue Beast. I absolutely love this scent. Interlude Man was a blind buy for me. I actually could have sampled it at my local Neiman Marcus. I just didn't know they had them at the time, so I just pulled the trigger on it. Luckily for me, I absolutely loved it at first sniff. This one is very smoky, very leathery, very deep, very rich fragrance, but it's the opening notes I think in particular that are instantly going to turn people off to this. This one features oregano, pimento, bergamot, frankincense, apopanax, cistus amber, leather, oud, sandalwood, and patchouli. So it's definitely the oregano that I think throws people on this. That's not a note that is used very heavily, and I think combined with that pimento, that's what ultimately throws a lot of people off to this. The flanker to this, the Interlude Black Iris, kind of gets rid of that oregano note and kind of freshens it up just a little bit. And I think more people tend to like that one, or at least think it's a little bit easier to pull off than this one is. That being said, I like this one better. I think it is the superior fragrance. I love that smokiness. I love that oregano in the opening. I love the deep leathery nature of it. It's just an elegant fragrance, and it's just not for the faint of heart at the end of the day, which makes it a very unsafe blind buy. So definitely get a sample of this one, check it out before you buy it if you haven't smelled it first. Interlude Man from Sauvage, great fragrance, long-lasting fragrance, beautiful, elegant, rich, deep, very well done, complex fragrance, but it is not a safe blind buy. Okay, and the last one on the list, most people I think actually consider this a safe blind buy. It's just in my opinion, I don't think it's a safe blind buy because I guess I blind bought it and didn't like it, which doesn't really count, but I'm gonna feature it in this video anyway because I want to. Perry Ellis 360 Red. Perry Ellis 360 Red. I actually used to own, when I was a kid, the original Perry Ellis 360. I don't fully remember what that smells like, but I do remember that being the least favorite out of all the fragrances I had at the time. That was the one I wore the least. This one features notes like lime, mandarin orange, bergamot orange, clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, lavender, coriander, musk, oak moss, and vetiver. So why do I think this isn't a safe blind buy? Well, frankly, that's just my opinion. I just happen to be one of the few that do not like this fragrance. This is often heralded as a very good, cheap, safe blind buy, particularly because of its similarity to like an Acqua di Gio with a spicy take on it. In my opinion, man, this thing just smells cheap. I just don't like it. There's nothing about it that makes me think like this is as good as an Acqua di Gio, even though that's not necessarily my favorite fragrance, but I don't hate it. This I just can't stand. I tried it on my skin a number of times. I'm like, this just doesn't smell good. It just smells incredibly artificial and very cheap, and to me, I would not recommend this to people, and I don't think other people should recommend it either, but I get it, you know, compared to the other blind buys out there that you can get for really cheap, it is better than a lot of them, and frankly, it's gonna be easier to wear, especially for people that are newcomers to the community, or just rather newcomers to fragrances in general. This is gonna be something that they're gonna gravitate towards a little bit better because it does have a kind of out of the shower, spicy cleanliness to it, so I get it, but to me, I think you can just do so much better. Perry Ellis 360 Red, in my personal opinion, is not a safe blind buy. Get that out of here. Okay guys, that is gonna do it for today's video. Thank you for tuning in. That was not so safe blind buys. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. What are some other fragrances you don't think are safe blind buys? Do you think some of these fragrances are safe blind buys? I'm willing to bet somebody's gonna think that 360 Red is indeed a safe blind buy, and I am nuts. But hey, that's cool. So yeah, thanks for watching today, and I hope to see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Wheel. Have a great day.